How much does a fiberglass pool cost? I've tracked the leads and the sales that came from that one single article since the day it was written for my company in Virginia, which is to this day still around. $35 million in sales that we've made from one single piece of content that took me 45 friggin' minutes to write. So if you look at that, that's about $800,000 ROI per minute is what I got for that piece of content.
I want to give a huge shout out to Marcus Storm for sponsoring today's episode.
You've heard of Google Ads, Facebook ads, and SEO, but did you know that there's an entire ecosystem, like 80% of the internet, that ads can be served on that you barely heard about?
That's where Marcus Storm operates.
They leverage data science and AI to build customer profiles for your ideal customers and get your ads in front of prospects before they are ready to hire a pro, planting your brand in their minds early and often.
To chat with a team about how they can help you grow your business, visit marcusstorm.ai.
If you're a contractor with multiple CSRs, check out this Service Business Mastery podcast partner, Lace.ai. Lace uses cutting-edge AI to analyze your phone calls, uncover lost revenue opportunities, and empower your CSRs to convert more leads. You can significantly increase revenue without spending extra on marketing or hiring by using Lace.ai to boost your conversion rates. For the first time, you can gain deep insights into customer needs at scale with minimal effort. Elevate your call center to achieve industry-leading booking rates and revenue. Visit www.lace.ai to book a demo today. Now back to the show.
Yo, Joshua, really fast. I want to talk about online scheduling for the trades and how they should be affordable, effective, and easy to manage. A really quick second here to share a little bit about the latest group of experts that we've teamed up with, Autobot.ai. Our team of industry experts has developed best-in-class scheduling app that seamlessly integrates with your CRM. Every booked job goes directly into your software and becomes one of our advanced marketing analytics, which is really cool. We can automatically select the marketing campaign of your choice based on how the customer came to your site.
Yeah, Tersh, those industry-leading analytics tells you everything that you're going to want to know about your lead, where they came from, what they did before scheduling, and what page they converted on, other things. On average, about 75% of people who start a booking with our app complete it, but we'll give you a more granular reporting that shows conversion rates based on marketing source and medium to help improve your marketing efforts.
So honestly, with no contracts, affordable monthly rates, and you really don't have anything to lose. And so it's a great program to try out. And if you use SBM, when you go to sign up for it, you'll actually save $1,500 on the setup fees. Honestly, give it a shot. Tell us what you think.
Hello, everyone out there in podcast world. Hope you're having a wonderful day. You're listening to or watching Service Business Mastery Podcast. I am one of your hosts, sitting virtually next to my co-host, Joshua Crouch. And I am excited we have Marcus Sheridan on the podcast today. And I'm super excited to talk with Marcus. Josh and I both have read and listened to his book. It transformed the way that I actually built out my first HVAC company. And I really struggled whenever listening to the book. It's called They Ask You Answer. They Ask You Answer. And there you go, Josh.
Tersh can't read it anyways because of his dyslexia, but it's called They Ask You Answer.
But I really did struggle with like pricing, like share pricing. And we've had this conversation before multiple times on the podcast. We have one of our sponsors, Upfrog, is all about putting prices on your website. And we've had, pushback. We've had success stories about doing it this way. And so like the OG guy, when it comes to sharing the information that your clients really want to know the answer to. And one of the things, so I was listening to Marcus earlier today on the drive around town, and one of the things really hit home to me, and that was, I remember reading this before and listening to it, but then you said it again today, and that was like allowed the client to fire themselves. Like what happens if I put my prices on there and you were using the pool instance and you're like, hey, it's a $50,000 pool. They only have a $30,000 budget. Like let them disqualify themselves versus wasting your time. And sometimes I feel like there's times where we want to go after more people And if you're a customer to everyone, I mean, if everyone's your customer, then no one's your customer. And I understand that concept, but there are times where I'm like, well, what if I win them over in the home and then I can,
you can sell them, right?
Yeah. You know what I mean? But anyways, we'll get into that a little bit. But with that being said, welcome to the show, Marcus.
It is such an interesting topic. I would say about 3 years ago, I did a Facebook post, unofficial poll. Would you put online or pricing on your website or not? And literally, you almost should have asked if you're a Democrat or Republican. It was 50-50. It was like split right down the middle. Some people got super angry. Some people were like, yes, you have to do it. So I'm really curious to, obviously your take was one of the first ones that I ever ran across, especially we're talking to service fees and maintenance, $100, $200. You were putting stuff online that was big, huge projects.
The issue that you had there, Josh, is you asked the wrong question. Because the right question is, when you're a buyer and you're researching something, do you expect to see pricing information? 100% of the time, the answer is yes. The problem is, as contractors, we don't follow the golden rule, even though a lot of us like to say that we do. So let's look at the psychology real quick, and then we're going to go take it way beyond just they ask you answer, which is, if I asked anybody that's listening to this right now, have you researched how much something costs online last year? Everybody would say, yeah, sure, I've done that, Marcus. If I said to you, when you're on a website and you're looking for cost and price information and you cannot find it, what's the emotion you experience? You say, I get super frustrated. I'd say, well, why do you get frustrated? You'd say, well, because I'm the buyer and I'm trying to make a decision. Okay. Now, in this moment of frustration, do you as the buyer, do you as a searcher, do you say to yourself, well, I'm just going to keep on looking at this website until I find it? Nope, you don't do that. If I said to you in that moment of frustration, do you as the buyer, do you say to yourself, well, that's okay, they're not talking about it. They're a value-based business. Every job is customized. I'm going to call them on the phone instead. Nope, you don't do that, because you as the buyer, you as the searcher, you keep searching. And what do? You search until you find. And generally speaking, whoever's going to give you what you're looking for, they're going to get your business. If not your business, they're going to get first contact, first phone call, which every person in this space that's listening to this right now would like to have. Now, if I said to those that are listening, though, are you talking aggressively about cost and price online of your services and products right now? Most would say no. And here's the reason why. 3 fundamental reasons, boys and girls. Number 1 reason, they say, well, every job is different. We have a customized solution. It's variable, Marcus. Okay. So if I said to you, if I met with you right now, anybody's listening to this, if I said to you, can you help me understand the factors that would drive the cost of your service product up? You'd say yes. If I said, can you help me understand the factors that would drive the cost of your service or product down? You'd say yes. If I came down and said, can you help me understand why there's such a delta in pricing? Because some of you are more expensive, some of you are less expensive. Can you give me a sense why competitors are more and less in this industry? You'd say yes. If I said, can you give me a general sense for what you all charge your typical customer? You'd say yes. And so this whole idea of it depends is the easiest one to address and the most important, because if you don't address that online, well, then what happens is the person is left ignorant. When someone's left ignorant, what do? They choose the cheapest thing. That's called commoditization. That's occurred in most industries because oftentimes contractors are very poor educators and teachers. So that's the first reason they don't do it. They say it depends. Second reason why some of your listeners, my friends too, by the way, are saying we don't talk about cost and price is we say, well, I don't want my competitors to see it. What's silly about that? If I talk to anybody
That's a big one. I've heard a lot of people say that.
Yep. If I talk to anybody that's good at their job and I said, do you have a pretty good sense as to what your competitors charge? They'd say, yeah, of course I do. So here's the big secret. They know what you charge. And this is the big secret, non-secret. Everybody acts like nobody knows what everybody's charging, when in reality, everybody's got a pretty decent sense as to what everybody else is charging. Besides that, when was the last time your competitors paid your bills? They have not paid your bills the last time I looked. And you're getting caught up in this idea still that you're giving exact numbers. You're not giving exact numbers. We'll come back to that in a second. Third reason why companies don't talk about cost and price is they say, well, we tend to be the more expensive provider. And if they see we're the more expensive provider, we might scare them away. No, sir. The thing that scares us away online isn't when somebody educates us, isn't when somebody teaches us and helps us understand what value looks like in an industry. Rather, it's when they say nothing at all. It's the exact same reason that if you were going to go to a new restaurant tonight, you've never been there, and you're vetting the restaurant, you're looking at reviews, and you went and looked at their menu online, and they had no pricing next to their menu items, you would say, I'm not going to go. And it's not because you can't afford it, because you can afford it, but the reason why you're not going is because the moment they left it blank, they planted a seed of doubt. When we embraced They Ask You Answer in 2009, first piece of content I put on my website as a pool guy was, how much does an in-ground pool cost? How much does a fiberglass pool cost? I've tracked the leads and the sales that came from that one single article since the day it was written for my company in Virginia, which is to this day still around. $35 million in sales that we've made from one single piece of content that took me 45 friggin' minutes to write. So if you look at that, that's about $800,000 ROI per minute is what I got for that piece of content. And because we've got hundreds now of clients that we have embraced They Ask You Answer, and now it's called Endless Customers, by the way, because They Ask You Answer came out third edition like 4 weeks ago, and it's called Endless Customers now. So I'll say Endless Customers. We have so much data on this. I have more empirical data than any company in the world on organizations that discuss pricing. And I can tell you that for 80% of the companies that we've ever worked with, a high percentage of which are in home services, home improvement, the number one traffic, lead, and sales generating content has to do with cost and price every single time. Yet there's still people listening to this right now saying, but you don't understand my business, Marcus. We're different.
My market's different. I hear
That's
that all
right.
the time as a digital marketer. My
Yeah, your
market's
people are
completely
aliens.
different than anyone else in the country. And I'm like,
Mhm.
you're
Yeah.
well, you're right
Yeah.
and you're wrong.
Marcus, let me ask you, do you put an asterisk next to the price?
Well, notice I didn't say you had to put the price. This is the misconception that companies have. They'll read They Ask You Answer and they'll still miss the mark. So what I'm espousing is when someone enters the buyer's journey, case in point, you need a new HVAC unit. First question every single person has, same question. Doesn't matter who it is. First question. Y'all know what it is. What is it?
What's this thing going to cost me?
Yeah, what's this thing going to set me back? First thing they want to know. They'll even say to the contractor, oftentimes, if you're a contractor, talk to somebody on the phone, they call you and say, yeah, HVAC unit went down. I'm looking to get some price. Can you give me a sense for pricing? I'm not going to hold you to it, but could you at least give me a sense, right? You've heard that. Not going to hold you to it a million times. Well, you see, that is the gateway of the buyer's journey. That question, roughly, how much is this going to cost? Unless someone can get a sense of range, well, then they stop right there. And oftentimes they don't vet further because they're confused and they're fearful. When you have fear, people don't move. And when they don't move, they don't buy. When they don't buy, you go broke as a business. And that's not a very good place to be. Right. And so, the stuff that I was doing early on, like I broke so many rules, and this is just one of them. But I got to talk. Can we talk further about this cost pricing? Because this dog will hunt.
Yeah, I'd actually like to add something to what you're saying, because you talk about the gateway, right? Like, so we manage, we have a call tagging team that listens and puts out the biggest objections that clients get on the phone. And we're actually developing an AI analysis and automation software to help with this for contracts. So it's like instantaneous results, because our human team, the data lags behind 5 to 7 days. It's still good. It's a lot slower because it's just hard to keep up with calls as they come in. Pricing on the phone is the number one reason calls don't get booked, because they don't talk about pricing. They don't give any idea what the fee is going to cost. A lot of them say, oh, I don't know. I don't have access to the price book. I can't tell you. They it's gatekeeped. And people on the phone, you can literally hear them get pissed off. Like, you don't even know how much it is to come to my house. Like, you just, or how much it is to get a tune-up on my air conditioner.
75% of all buyers today say they would prefer to have a seller-free sales experience. I'm going to repeat this just so everybody can hear it. 75% of all buyers say they would prefer to have a seller-free sales experience. What does this mean? What it means is we don't hate salespeople. We just don't want to talk to salespeople until we're good and ready. And that means we want to be confident. We want to be comfortable. We want to be informed. And we want to feel like we're not going to get taken advantage of. We're not going to make a mistake. This is every buyer, okay? And so how do you take advantage of this? Because your choices are as follows. You can complain about it and say, oh, gee, I wish it was still 1980. Or you can say, you know what? There's a trend. I'm going to take advantage of it. And I always believe in taking advantage of the trends. Well, the future is self-service. And I talk a ton about this in Endless Customers, the book. And everyone, please hear what I'm about to say. When it comes to your website today, if you want to generate leads, self-service is going to be the biggest key. No longer are people downloading your freaking buyer's guide, okay?
Yeah.
You're not getting that first-party information anymore like you were before. Give that stuff away, ungate it. Here's what makes conversions happen today. One great example, self-pricing tools, also known as calculators/estimators. I have been such a leader in this pricing conversation for 15 years of my life that last year I developed a software that's called PriceGuide.ai. And what it does, it allows mainly home contractors, service-based businesses to quickly, easily, and cost-effectively create pricing estimators that they can put on their website. And generally, you can have it on your site up and working in less than 30 minutes because, of course, AI helps you to build it. Okay. Now, here's what's great about it. When you put this on your site and you use the call to action, this is very important. It's got to be on your homepage and it's got to say, get instant estimate. That's the money phrase, ladies and gentlemen. Get instant estimate. When you put that on your site, here's what we see almost every single time. 3 to 500% increase in conversions. 3 to 500%. So in other words, if you're getting 5 leads a week from your website right now, if you get a pricing estimator, you're going to now see 15 to 25 per week. Now, why does this happen? Well, the process is beautiful because there's this thing called sunk cost fallacy. And if you're listening to this and you've studied any business books at all, you probably are familiar with it, which means when somebody is doing an interactive tool, answering questions, and then they get an answer, they have now invested in the relationship. And therefore, because they've invested further, they're looking for a reason to work with you. And the conversion rates explode. And it addresses this fundamental question that everybody has, roughly how much is it? But it doesn't put you in a corner. You see, there's a huge difference between an estimator and a quote. You're not giving a quote, but what people want is a general estimate so they know they're in the game. And I've had so many, I had an HVAC company that heard me talk about this, man. It was the coolest thing. I saw them at a conference in January. I got a note 30 days later from them on LinkedIn. They said, Marcus, I had a price guide. I am literally shocked. We've already done over $200,000 in additional business.
Just from the
$200,000
price
that they
guide.
extract from having a pricing estimator on their website. And that's what's crazy about it. Now you're starting to see these pop up. There's like tools like Roofle. You've heard of Roofle for roofers, right? All right, that's an example of this. Price Guide is beautiful because it's $20 a month. So in other words,
One sale, one lead is worth it.
it's crazy. It's crazy. And you can crush off of it. You get one lead, because your average lead that you're probably paying for in PPC right now is probably somewhere between $75 to $100 for a lot of you that are listening to this. And so now all of a sudden, for 2 of those, you can get 3 to 5x the leads. It doesn't make sense. Listen, within 5 years, mark my words, if you're listening to this right now, 90% of all service-based businesses within home improvement are going to have a pricing estimator on their website. I will guarantee you that. I will bet my 4 children, my grandson, and my granddaughter that's on the way that is going to happen. And the question for you is, are you going to be the one that's reactive to everyone saying, yeah, we should probably do that? I mean, you all remember the days when contractors are saying, yeah, I don't think I need a website. How'd that work out for you? You know what I'm saying? It's just like,
I don't need email.
yeah, it's electronic mail.
What's this
That's
internet
not how I
thing?
roll. This is the big change that we are seeing. Let me give you another one really quickly with self-service that I've seen. I'll just be fast about this one. We've created tools for people that, let's say you have an organization with multiple salespeople. All right, which I mean that's not that certainly happens. So, Tersh, let's say one of your companies has a bunch of salespeople. How many does it have?
3.
3. Okay. You can create a page on your website, and on that page, you have the 3 salespeople. All right. So let's say you have a call to action that says schedule your site visit with one of our sales reps or whatever you call that person. Okay. One of our diagnostic reps or whatever you want to say, and our consultation specialist. So you have the 3 there. You have an image of the person. You have a video of the person explaining just about themselves. You have their bio there, and then you allow the prospect to choose the salesperson and to sync up with their calendar and choose the time that they meet with them. Now, here's what we found every time we've done this: 50% increase in closing rates. For those that choose a salesperson versus those that do not choose the salesperson, 50%. And again, why is this? Because of sunk costs. You see, because they went through a process of selecting who they wanted to work with on your team, now they're trying to find a way to prove to themselves that they made the right decision. It's really fascinating, the psychology of this. And now all of a sudden you see a dramatic increase in closing rates. We've done this with a bunch of companies now. It's crazy how it works. Isn't that wild? I bet you've never seen anybody do that before, have you?
I got a question for you, Marcus. And because we're talking about, getting people to, getting traffic to the website to be able to get this instant estimate, AI search is exploding. Google has come out literally with AI overviews, and now they have an AI mode, which is like experimental, but will, from the sounds of it, will eventually be like the thing on Google search. Like, you won't have your normal Google search with the 10 blue links and all the other stuff on there. It's going to be AI mode all the time. And then, of course, ChatGPT is, we all know it's growing exponentially. How does what you teach factor into this? Because I told you before we jumped on, I had a Facebook group post that, and I engage, Tersh knows this, I engage in a lot of Facebook group posts. He hates engaging on Facebook. But somebody was saying, because they did a search for like, how much does a plumber cost? And I had a customer send them the screenshot of what it should cost. Of course, the information came from Yelp, Home Advisor, Angie, Thumbtack, all the sources that could care less about your business.
All the plumbers that are pissed about the low number, they can blame themselves because they haven't had honest conversations about it online. And you see, this is
by online. Do you mean on like a blog post on their website?
A blog post on your website. There's essentially, I teach, there's 5 levels of pricing online. Okay. Level 0 is when you have a pricing tab on your website and they click on the tab and they see call for quote.
Contact us.
Yeah, which is, by the way, the middle finger of the internet. So that's level 0. It doesn't even get credit for any levels. Level 0. Level 1 is when you have a pricing page on your site and you talk around pricing, but you don't ever give any numbers at all. So you're misleading, and that pisses people off. Level 2 is when you have a pricing page like I teach about in Endless Customers They Ask You Answer, where you explain what drives cost up, what drives cost down, why are some companies expensive, why are some companies cheap, right? Just help someone understand all the value components. And now they're like, okay, I understand why somebody would spend 20% more because they get this, this, and this, and I wouldn't live without that. Level 3 is when you have a pricing video, right? That's also on your YouTube page. That's also on your socials that you post. The pricing video, once again, explains those big 5 things: what drives cost up, what drives cost down, why are some companies expensive, why are some companies cheap, and roughly where do you fall, right? So that's level 3. Level 4, now you're starting to cook with gas, is a pricing estimator. This is when people just love you to the end of time. And then level 5 is when you have an exact quote tool. Now, I'm not a fan of an exact quote tool most of the time because that does mess you up for variables. And so some companies can do that, but many companies can't give an exact quote, but you can give an estimate. And so those are the 5 different levels. Now, here's what's going to happen in the future, and here's what's wild. In the future, somebody's going to have their HVAC break. They're going to talk to their, and by the way, I know I'm preaching to the choir with you guys. You know this, but I'm just for our listeners because I want them to see the future state. All right. So what's going to happen in the future is you're going to have your little AI agent. And this is that AI assistant that does anything and everything for you. Your HVAC is going to break. You're going to go to your AI assistant, all right, your agent, and you're going to say, listen, I need you to I want you to go research the top 20 local HVAC contractors here in Richmond, Virginia, where you live, wherever that is. I want you to research reviews. I want you to research pricing. I want you to give me your top 3 recommendations based on your research. Your agent's going to go out. It's going to do all the research. It's going to come back. It's going to give you a report. And here's how the report's going to sound. It's going to say something to you like, hey, Josh, I did the research. I found 20 companies locally. I vetted them all. I chose the top 3 based on a variety of factors, mainly reviews, but also the ones that had pricing estimators on their website. I found that 5 of them had estimators on their website, but of those 5, 3 of them had the best reviews. Here are the 3 companies I'm recommending. Here are their estimates that they have given me. Which would you like to call next? That's the future.
It sounds like you've done that a few times because literally like ChatGPT, when you put that stuff in, it literally goes like, it gives you like the basis of how they did their research. It sounds like you literally have done this like a bunch of times to get that information.
This is our future, everyone. I mean, listen, I'm not saying I'm excited about it or I love it. I've learned not to complain about where the world's headed.
We can't control it.
It doesn't help me to complain about it. What helps me is to say, how can I live in the solution right now? Now, there's no question that you should not build your house on Google alone anymore. I could do that with river pools in 2009. I had the most traffic swimming pool website in the world. We dominated. We took over the industry. I couldn't do the same thing today. I've got to be on more platforms today. And I can't just expect Google search alone, because the companies that have been rooted in a ton of SEO and a ton of content in the past, specifically towards Google search, their traffic is going down. And also, Google Ads, if anybody's listening, don't necessarily have a really strong future either. Not like they do today. If you talk to most contractors today and you say, how's your Google ad spend going? Most are going to tell you, I'm spending more this year than I've spent in a long time, and I'm getting less results than I've gotten in a long time. This is what everybody's saying. There's a reason for this, because as soon as SEO is going down and people are getting less organic traffic to their site, what that means is they have to start spending more on paid. And so now you're starting to see more people on paid, but yet less people are using Google. And as less people use Google, if you've built your house on that, suddenly you're saying, son of a gun, I could be in big trouble here.
Okay, so 1 year I know you spent a large amount of money, but a lot of it was on pay-per-click, but then your organic took off and you didn't have to spend hardly anything on pay-per-click compared to your...
Send out trust signals to the world. Trust signals is every piece of content that you produce or people produce about you if you want to be recommended by AI. For 20 years, we had to make sure we were recommended by homeowners and recommended by Google for 20 years. Now, the second one is starting to fall off. And the third one that is going to become the cog in your business for a long, long time is whether or not AI will recommend your business. In order for AI to recommend your business, though, you can't do it like everybody else is doing it. This is why having a pricing estimator, this is, again, another example, having pricing content is going to be table stakes. But let's look at something that I taught about in They Ask You Answer, and still works very, very well today for AI recommendations that anybody that's listening to this should try. Most won't try because you're going to lack courage, and which is really, really sad. But a couple of you will have the courage to do what I'm about to tell you, which is this. I remember in 2012, I was still selling pools. This is my last year selling pools. And I was sitting with a couple homeowners in Richmond, Virginia, sat with them for like 2 hours, gave them a quote, and they said, Marcus, we like you. We think we'd like to do business with you. But if we don't do business with you, is there anybody else you might recommend? And I thought, gosh, I hate this freaking question. And I didn't sell the pool that night. They were, still, set on looking around. So I was driving home, and I had like a 2-hour drive, like always, and I was pissed. And I was thinking to myself, well, they asked the question, so guess what? I'm going to go answer it on my website. And I created an article, Who Are the Best Pool Builders in Richmond, Virginia? Review/ratings. So that was the title of it. Who are the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia? Review/ratings. And I listed 5 of the best pool builders in Richmond, Virginia. And I took the 5 that I had lost the most deals to over the course of the previous 10 years. That's who I chose. Okay. And I described each one of the companies based on their own information on their own website. Well, what happened as a result of this? Now I started ranking for all my competitors. When people were searching reviews, competitor name, Richmond, Virginia, I was ranking for my competitors after I had produced a best of article, which is, by the way, and you know this, Josh, you're in it every single day. I mean, obviously, Tersh, you know it too. It's like one of the most common searches we deal with is, best pool builders, best HVAC companies, such and such, in name of the town, city, state, whatever it is. And so this is prolific. And I produced this list. So I was the first person in home improvement that openly talked about competitors and started ranking for all my competitors' keyword phrases. And I've done this with a lot of industries now, and these best of continue to work. But here's what's wild. 2 things have changed. Now, when you have those best of lists, this is what AI uses. They pick up these lists, and then they source those lists. And that's when someone does a best of search today on AI, all these clients that I have that have produced these best of clients, they're the ones getting sourced. They're the ones getting mentioned, the content that they have.
Hello, home service professionals. Do you want to maximize your marketing budget? Then you need to be using call tracking from CallRail. Let's say you noticed a spike in new leads this month. To find out what's driving them, you just log into your CallRail dashboard. Is my new Facebook ad outperforming my other ads? Or is paid search knocking it out of the park? Or maybe it's time to retire those newspaper ads. Since CallRail assigns a unique phone number to each of my marketing efforts, I know where my best leads come from and which efforts to scrap. CallRail shows you your most cost-effective marketing channels so you can get back to business. Go to callrail.com/SBMpod and try it for free.
Today's episode is powered by Cirrus Systems.
Cirrus is all about removing the clutter and unnecessary touch points to run your home service business profitably.
They use AI dispatching to get the right tech to the right call automatically, and job time efficiency to ensure your entire team runs like a profit-generating machine.
Get a tech upgrade for your business at get.sarah.tech/service-business-mastery.
What's up, friends? Never miss a call again. So our partners with Free to Grow, their world-class AI voice CSR platform is designed specifically for trades businesses with industry-leading integrations, dedicated onboarding team. You'll never have to worry about missing calls or losing leads again. Whether it's booking, rescheduling, answering customer questions, or escalating to your internal staff, their AI handles it all 24/7. And not only that, it can book directly into your FSM. So stop wasting time and money on leads that get fumbled. Let Free to Grow turn every call into a book job.
Today's episode is brought to you by one of our show partners, UpFrog.
UpFrog is the OG when it comes to pricing transparency online. They find system replacement leads through paid ads and have developed an entire system to drive those hard-to-find system replacement opportunities, nurture the leads, and book them into sold systems before your team arrives to help you grow your business.
Learn more at upfrog.io.
Are they pulling the list itself, and so they're recommending everybody that you put on the list, or are they?
We've seen this. Like Church and I have done this for like best HVAC podcasts and stuff. And then we look at the source list. We're on like Service Titans blog, House Couple. We're on like really big national blogs. And I've seen the same thing in a bunch of different ways.
The difference today, when I wrote They Ask You Answer, came out 2017, second edition 2020, and then Endless Customers third edition came out this year. Endless Customers changed that teaching to say, before we said, don't put yourself on the list because it sounds self-serving. You're going to get the benefits of the traffic. You're going to get the gains. And I mean, I made millions off of these best of lists on a personal level. But now I say, put yourself on the list, but here's how you have to do it. You have to say, if you're a homeowner looking for the best HVAC companies in Richmond, Virginia, we have created a list here based on 10 factors that demonstrate the highest standards when it comes to HVAC companies in Central Virginia. We're basing it on number of Google reviews, how long they've been in business, et cetera, et cetera. So in other words, you want to create a criteria for how you're defining best. At that point, you can put yourself on the list because it doesn't sound as self-serving. And you can also, because otherwise, if you create a list, you don't show your criteria, how you made the list, and then you throw yourself on said list, you don't get as much.
Software companies do this crap all the time.
That's right.
All the time. They're always on their own list.
You can do that. And so we've got a ton of companies that are doing really, really well with AI recommendations, best of searches, because they have done this over the years and it continues to work. I had one do it last month and immediately AI recommendations picked it up and they're already seeing benefits from it. Here's the thing. You still want to produce content like we've talked about, rooted in the big five, which are those five fundamental subjects that everybody searches: cost, problems, comparisons, reviews, and best. Those are the big five. They run home improvement. I talk a ton about them in Endless Customers. You still want that content on your website, but you really, really need to be aggressive with this on a video perspective, and you need to be really, really pushing the YouTube envelope like you've never pushed it before. There's a very strong argument that you could make that within the next 5 years, your YouTube page is going to be more important to your brand than your website. And that's hard for a lot of people to understand, but there is a clear trend line. That's where a lot of folks are going. It's no different than why most podcasters are now going towards YouTube because the number one podcasting channel in the world is YouTube. As everybody that was getting a ton of website traffic before from Google SEO is seeing a decline, those that have been using YouTube are not seeing any decline or any dip from AI. They're only improving right now. That trend line's not going to stop, right? So AI recommendations are not hurting YouTube usage at all. In fact, the one blue ocean to a degree of search still remains with YouTube, much more so than you find with just regular traditional search. You can be ranked number one in Google search results today. And whereas 5 years ago, you're getting 80% of the clicks. Today, you're getting less than 20% of the clicks because they got to go through a freaking swath of AI summaries, and then they've got to have related questions, and then they see all the sponsored searches, and then they might see a map too. And like, you're ranked number one, but you're like, I'm not getting the visitors. I get it, man. I
I'm
get
ranked
it.
number 1, but I'm on page 2.
Yeah, that's exactly
That's
right,
what
Tersh.
it feels like today.
That's what it feels like today. It's just almost like ranking number one doesn't mean squat anymore in Google for a lot of these companies, especially location-based businesses like HVAC, home contractor, etc., because of the fact that they're showing all these things. Even ChatGPT now is starting to show the map, right? And it's like it's getting very, very interesting. It goes back though to you got to become a known and trusted brand, and if you're going to be a known and trusted brand, there's 4 pillars I talk about in endless customers. You got to say what others aren't willing to say online. You got to show with video what others aren't willing to show. You got to sell in a way that others aren't willing to sell. And you got to be more human than others are willing to be. Those are the 4.
What do you say to the business owner or, whoever that is really good at fixing air conditioning, but they're just really not interested in being on video? Like that, like it's almost like stage fright.
So how many times, I would say to that person, how many times has somebody come to your website, wanted to see a video so they could understand the thing, couldn't find the video, and said, that's okay, they don't have a video. The owner gets nervous on camera. I'm going to give him a pass. It's never happened in the history of the world. Nobody gives a rip about how comfortable you are on camera. They only care, like Toby the Great Keith said, I want to talk about me, number one, right? So when someone's coming to your site, well, here's what's wild. People will tell me, yeah, I don't have a face for camera. Interesting. So do you ever meet any of your customers face to face? You expect them to look at you then? You ask them for their money then? You see, when you ask people for their money, and that's what happens when you become an entrepreneur, you ask people for their money in exchange for a good or service. You lose the right to say, I'm not going to give you every reason to trust me. Now, video is where we are all headed. And
Sure.
all you have to do is pay attention to the teenagers, because it doesn't matter the fact that you still might use Google, or every one of the teenagers I know today have moved over to ChatGPT. All of them. And they are all on YouTube. And to them, that's their TV. That's their Saturday morning TV, right? And so the whole world has changed, and we can't continue to say, I'm going to allow my personal opinions to screw up smart business decisions.
What do you tell a business owner who maybe has imposter syndrome? Because that I know that's a fear. Like, hey, I'm going to say something that someone else doesn't agree with, and then we get into an online debate, and then I don't want to, I want to avoid the conflict. Does that make sense?
You will, when you become a thought leader and you build a brand, you will be attacked.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's when
Oh.
you have to say, because listen, you guys get attacked.
Sure.
Freaking, you got a podcast, and people find reason to say negatives about you all. And now that you've gone big,
But I see this comment all the time. It's like, does that guy have any emotion in his voice? Like talking about me? Because I tend to be very monotone, and I'm like, all right, I'll take that.
Tersh is definitely the calmer one. I'm the fiery, get in an argument, blow Facebook up one.
I took that personal the first couple of times I seen it, but then now it's like, okay, now it's something to make myself better. And we're not perfect. And if we think that we are, then like that just feeds into an ego.
when people tell me they're not good on camera, I say, but are you good with people? And they say, yes. Every time they say yes. And I say, well, see, that's the problem right there. You are seeing the camera as a camera. I see the camera as a person. It's like, even though I'm talking to you two guys, Tersh and Josh, I'm actually talking to your audience pretty much like 100, like I'm always directing myself to your audience. And that's because that's who I'm obsessed with. I am literally obsessed with my audience in any place that I go. Can I make a connection with them?
How did you get to that point though, to where you become obsessed with the audience versus, because I like thinking back to like an E-Myth, and you're thinking like, all right, I'm the mechanic and I need to become obsessed with the audience, the person, versus fixing the item, the air conditioning unit. Like it's a mindset shift. I know that you've mentioned before, like people asking you to come out on site and observe the installation of the pool. And you're like, I don't work on pools. And when you said that, I immediately thought of Josh, because he's very knowledgeable in that area, but he doesn't own wrenches. Like he doesn't turn wrenches, knobs, or anything.
I turn them the wrong way.
How does someone who is very technical mindset, engineering mindset, move their mentally over to like, now I need to become obsessed with educating the client?
Yeah, I'm not saying any of this is easy, but I would say there's a couple things going on here. Number one is what you can do to make your life easier is you can have someone interview you on camera that acts as the audience. They are in their stead. And because of that, if you have sadly a lot of home improvement companies don't have a marketing department at all, and I think you really need one. I think you should bring in someone that has journalist-like skills. By the way, you could hire a recent journalist graduate to work for your company. You can get them for a very, very competitive number because they can't get a job in journalism right now, but they've got media experience, they've got interviewing experience, they know how to think like the reader, the viewer, etc. And so it's their job to ask you the questions and to get you to further explain things, because oftentimes, to your point, you might suffer from the curse of knowledge, which is thinking the world understands everything you understand when they don't fully understand what you're saying. The other side to this is, and this is really important if you're listening to this, the goal is to never sound smart. Like, I'm not trying to sound smart when I talk to you all today. I am seeking communion, understanding with your audience. I'm not going to use technical phrases. I'm going to speak in such a way that it's immediately understood, but I'm not trying to sound smart. Somebody once told me something that really changed my life. And at first I didn't fully get it, but then it made so much sense. They said, in simple terms, it's dumb not to dumb it down. Dumb not to dumb it down. But then I really, really got it, because the goal is that light bulb comes on. It's aha. And so even though I write stuff about sales and marketing and digital, rarely does anybody say, oh, I don't know what that means. What do you mean by that? Because rarely do I, even though we might have said SEO today, I'll usually say getting found online. You know what I'm saying? It's like, this is the language so that you can be understood. Now I just got to say one more thing about video. If I talk to anybody that's listening to this, and I said to them, have you ever sat with a homeowner, screwed up your words, and said to the homeowner, I just totally screwed that up. Can we just start the whole conversation over again?
You're so much more organic. It's like,
You've
all right,
never done that.
yeah,
You've never, ever done that. What do you do with the homeowner? You keep going. Why?
yeah. You just wing it. Like,
So
yeah,
when you see the camera as a homeowner, you stop stopping. You stop second takes. I do
yeah.
so many videos. I don't really ever do second takes. I mean, it's very rare for me to do a second take because I just don't care about the fact that I screwed up. Just like with us right now, we're all having to do this as we have this conversation. If we fumble over a word, it doesn't matter. We don't have time and we don't have the ability to stop. We're live, we're recording, we're not going to hit edit later. We're going to keep going forward in our conversation. So we do this in the sales world. You need to learn to do that when you're discussing things on camera. And once you get to that point, you're like, wow, I've had people go literally in 45 minutes working with them, go from I suck on camera to, oh my gosh, I think I might be a natural. I'm not kidding.
I have light bulbs going off. That makes so much sense as to why like Josh has engagement with his videos, because he's really not that smart. So he doesn't ever have to worry about sounding smart.
This is why we tell ChatGPT to write on a 5th grade level. It's the same reason.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've done that forever. Like I have a custom GPT written out for technicians invoice summaries. One of the instructions says, read, make sure that it's at 8th grade reading comprehension level and remove all industry jargon. And like, that's the main focus of that job summary GPT. And so, yeah, no, I understand. And I get it, wholeheartedly agree with what you said there. Josh, what were you going to add earlier?
I don't remember now, but I do have a question. Because we talked about like a couple of the blog posts and stuff on your website that have gotten a lot of great traction. So somebody's listening to this and they're like, light bulbs are going off in their head, just like Tersh said he had some light bulbs going off, and I think his light bulb was making fun of me. But either way, for content ideas, where should they draw inspiration if they don't have if they can't hire a journalist to like do the research or someone to do the research, and they're small and they really want to start implementing this early in their business, or maybe when they don't have as many team members and stuff? Where should they go for ideas? Where should they find them? I mean, obviously ChatGPT is an easy answer, but is there other place, like, so they know that there are, like, what are other people asking? Like you said, you were literally in a sales call and they asked the question, so you went back and wrote a blog post about it. Where should they draw inspiration from? What kind of ideas, or where
The homeowner is the greatest keyword tool in the world. I think always will be. Listen, I used to sit down with the homeowner and I'd get a question. And before I even answer the question, I thought, have I addressed this on my website? Have I created a video about this? Because there's a reason why they're asking, because they didn't get the answer. Otherwise, they would know the answer. So it's my fiduciary to make sure they know these things. So like, I was obsessed about that. It's still into this day. I'm like, look, why is this person asking this question? They should know this already. It's my job to make sure they know this. I think that's going to continue to be the key for, I don't think people should look at AI and just stop producing content. I think we need to lean in harder. I think we need to tell better stories. I think we need to show better stories. Like I even though you might not get any traffic from Google search in 5 years, I don't think you should stop with this idea of addressing your customers' questions. And you should go, I've got prompts in the book about this, but it's like, all you got to do is say, hey, listen, this is my industry. I want you to use Marcus Sheridan's They Ask You Answer methodology and his big 5 cost, problems, comparisons, reviews. And I want you to come up with 15 of each of the big 5 for my industry that people are asking and searching online, with a strong hook and a strong affinity towards SEO titles. And you're going to get like 75 glorious titles / searches / videos and articles that you should produce.
Really quick, just a 30-second. What first thing that comes to mind here? AI written articles, bad, good, ugly. Thoughts?
Well, the way most people are producing them with AI is bad, right? And the thing is, I think I'm a huge fan of AI. I'm a huge fan of AI assistance and getting help with AI. But if every single one of your pieces of content doesn't have a personal story, a story from your company, if it's not written in first person, or first company, it's like, I can tell if something's been written by AI, like soul. I can tell oftentimes if it's been written by a person. Example of, a person is if you say, we were talking to a homeowner the other day and they were like, be honest, how long is my HVAC unit really going to last? Now, this is such a great question. We hear it all the time here at Tersh's HVAC. And so we decided to produce this video today to answer that very question. We're going to give you the honest, frank truth on really how long is that HVAC unit going to last. Now, everything I just said, that could have been written, that could have been video, it doesn't matter. That was human. And it should stand. That was first company. Here's what someone asked us. Here's the conversation we had. So that was a story plus that first person conversation, very informal. And so there should be cues that you're sending out. But if you could take your article and it could go on any other competitor's website, you have failed, and you're probably going to get penalized for that.
Thank you to Company Cam for supporting today's episode.
These guys are changing the game for contractors with their smart photo app.
Keep your projects documented and streamline your team's communication with even your most complicated jobs.
Try it for free for 14 days and get 25% off of your first 2 months at companycam.com/SBM.
We talk about search. We talk a lot about search traffic today, right? But even if, let's say, like you said, maybe you get no search traffic from anything on Google just because the world dies or the internet dies or the way we know it. But and we tell a lot of contractors this, and something I wanted to add to what you said is, during the sales process, the pre-estimate, pre-selling before you go out and actually give the estimate, the post when they're still making a decision, all of these content pieces that you are putting together through this philosophy become sales pieces for you to use about the top
Yes.
competitors, the reviews of the people that you've worked with, how much things should cost, why it should cost that way, what are the factors. Like, these are all really great topics that you can also put into your pitch while you're in home. And you can also point to the fact that you have pricing on your website and other people do. You just create a little doubt, right? You have it on your website, and they're going to say, well, I've searched other competitors and they don't have it on their website. Well, why do you think that is? And now you created a seed of doubt. There's a lot of ways to use this content to repurpose it in a way that's really meaningful to you. And then your people on the phone, when they're answering the phone, they can also share links, share videos to the
Yeah,
person
do we
when
have
they're
time for
asking
me to
those
share a
questions.
story about that? Because I can go over
Absolutely.
here. Do we have
Yeah,
time for a story
absolutely.
about that? So one of the things I discovered some years ago, I really leaned into content and they asked you answer was I was looking at two groups of people on my company's website. Both had filled out a form and said, I want to get a quote. And I was comparing the ones that bought versus the ones that did not buy. And what I found was the ones that had bought I kept seeing a number, which was if they had read 30 or more pages of the website, the closing rate was 80%. If they didn't hit that magic number 30 in terms of 30 pieces of content consumed that we had created, the closing rates were 25%, which was essentially industry average. So it's like a hockey stick growth in closing rates if they consumed enough of our content.
30 pieces of content's a lot, though, isn't it?
Are you talking about just website content, or you started talking about like videos and multiple platforms?
Yeah, I'm talking about, but it was just on our website. This is what I could see from our analytics. So I was like, oh my gosh, got to get somebody to do is read 30 pages essentially of our content, and they'll buy from us 80% of the time. It's on like Donkey Kong. And so here's what happened. We implemented assignment selling, and this is how assignment selling works. That's the name I came up with. And like I said, we do a ton of sales training. I've got a sales training company. And the way assignment selling works is, let's say, Tersh, you were the homeowner, right? So I would say to you, and let's say that you had, called me up and said, hey, Marcus, could you come out to my house and give me a quote for a pool this Friday? I would say to you, Tersh, I'd love to come out to your house this Friday, but you're getting ready to spend a lot of money. And I know you don't want to make any mistakes. And so as to make sure you don't make any mistakes, here's what we're going to do. Having a conversation on the phone right now, I'm going to send you two things, Tersh, that you're going to love. The first thing I'm going to send you is a video that shows you the entire install process. This way, you're going to see exactly what it looks like. And Friday, when I come out, you're not going to say, Marcus, what does this process look like? You're already going to know. Now, real quick, that just saved me 30 minutes in the sales presentation. Now, the second thing I'm going to send you, Tersh, is this buyer's guide. This buyer's guide is great because it's going to answer a lot of the questions that you have about pools that nobody's bothered to answer yet. Like, should I get a heater with my pool? What's the best type of heater? Should it be electric? Should it be gas? Should it be solar? Should I get salt or should I get chlorine? What's the best type of cover? Should it be mesh? Should it be solid? Should it be automatic? These are things that you should know. And you should know that before I come out. So they're in this guide. Now, this guide's a little bit long. It's about 30 pages. Wink, wink, wink. But I promise you, it'll be well worth your time. Tersh, will you take the time to review these things before our appointment on Friday? And so now Tersh says, yeah, sure, no problem. And a lot of people will do that homework because that's why it's called assignment selling, because they're getting ready to write a big check and they don't want to make a mistake in their backyard. And so doing that, it exploded our closing rates. And that's available to any contractor today. And I've had many companies do that. I've had HVAC companies do that really, really successfully.
That's a good point. Now, the FAQs that you put in there, I'm sure they're this pretty similar FAQs as what you would normally have on your website.
That's why I'm hoping your listeners, at a minimum, in terms of taking action, get endless customers. It's on audio. You're going to get so many stinking ideas of things that you should be doing. That's like number one. Number two, if you're not getting price guide or a tool like it and putting an estimator on your homepage with that phrase, get instant estimate, you're literally saying, I do not want 300 to 500% more leads, which to me blows my friggin' mind. But there's people that will say, there's no way I could do that. I just don't understand. And so those are two steps that anybody should and could take today.
Do you recommend putting the price guide above the fold, or is it
above
okay
the fold?
Okay. So
Yeah,
like
but it's just
personality
it's just a CTA that says get instant estimate. And so the problem is what almost everybody has is get free quote, which just annoys the crap. And nobody wants, it's like the person walks into the bar, they sit next to you, and you take that as a cue of, hey, would you like to go home with me? You haven't said anything to them yet. What? So instead of that, and literally when somebody comes to your site and you're like, get quote, asking them to go home with you too soon. Now, they're going to eventually be ready for that. but there's got to be something in between. Now, remember the first question they had, roughly what's this going to cost? So now you've got that. Then you've got another recommendation tool, an interactive tool. What's the best thing for my situation? Is it what's it called? A split unit? I forget what's called.
Oh
A
yeah,
regular
package unit.
HVAC?
Ductless.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
like there might be like different so recommendation tools are super powerful. That is another example of what you should have on your site. It's going to get to the point where your site, your website, the most important component is going to be that you got the conversion. There's going to be a lot less education that's happening on your site. And so now you got to say, I got to do the conversions. Well, they can get the buyer's guide. You can have it on your site, but the buyer's guide, they can get a lot of that from ChatGPT right now. What are they not going to get from ChatGPT right now? An honest estimate. What are they not going to get necessarily is a recommendation based on a bunch of parameters that you've created that helps them out and is specifically made for your product or service, right? So these are the things that you could be doing. A scheduling tool, like I mentioned earlier, right? This is powerful, man. And these crush conversions, baby. And that's what everybody's saying is, I got a lead problem this year. All right, let's fix it.
So we talked a lot about what content to put on your site. So I have a question on the flip side of this. Have you ever run into anything, or do you anything that you would not put on your site, like any sort of content areas that you wouldn't go into?
You just give a price. Let's say you just put a price list, no education. That's a mistake. That's what you don't want to do. What you do is you teach it really, really well through that article that's 1,500 words discussing all the factors, through that video that's 10 minutes, that's showing and explaining how cost and pricing works with HVAC or remodeling or whatever it is. Then with the estimator, like that really, really helps someone. So that's something I occasionally will see somebody do. Trying to think of another one, and I can't, it's not coming to me right now, Josh.
That's what I figured out. Just to see if there's anything that was like, man, I've seen this happen, and you should definitely not do this.
Well, you shouldn't take a dump on your competitors and say bad things and get sued, right? So if you're going to talk about your competitors, I would suggest that you just use words from their own site, right? Just don't say anything negative about them. I mean, I've talked a lot about competitors, and I've had my threats, blah blah blah. I'm not going to go way into it, but I would just,
Yeah, I remember you saying
I
that.
think you have to comfortably talk about them, but don't take a dump on them.
I talk a lot about this with community referrals, meaning like if I'm an HVAC contractor, I team up with an electrician, a plumber, a roofer, or a solar company, and so we all like refer business to each other. Like you create your own BNI group essentially, right? Without maybe some of the rules, and just we all refer business and then get links to each other's sites and all that kind of stuff. Some sort of strategy around the same thing, but creating a best of article, or a top 5 electricians in the city, top 5 roofers, and have that type of. Okay.
Yes. Yeah. So
I was
you
getting
should
at,
do
like, to go one step
for your
further.
industry, and then you do it for like sister and then cousin related industries as well. Absolutely. I'm an HVAC company. To your point, I'm going to do best, home remodelers in my town as well. I'm going to create an article. I'll probably create a video about them. I'm going to go so far as to highlight their work and show images, because listen, man, I want them referring me, and I want them to say, golly, Dave, I've never had a company create a whole article about why they are impressed with us. I'm totally going to be recommending them to my customers.
Imagine breaking the ice with an article you wrote about, because you can go look at Google, you can see the reputation on Facebook groups and stuff. You can kind of see what people are saying. Imagine sending that to them as the icebreaker to start a relationship. Be like, hey, I just want to let you know I included you in my article about the 5 best electricians in my market. I've seen the work you guys are doing. You guys are doing great. Just here's the article in case you want to reference it. And just creating that relationship with people in your market that you don't know, or maybe you just haven't been introduced to.
Listen, guys, before we dump out here, I do want to say one thing, and there's a chapter on disruption in the book. I can't stress how important it is to break the rules today. Let me give you an example of what I did back in the day and how change your trajectory as a business. When I got into fiberglass pools, what we were taught was you dug a hole in the ground, you put a base of sand down, you put the pool shell on top of that base of sand, you backfilled around it with sand, and then you filled it with water, you poured a concrete patio, and called that a pool. Everybody knows that you don't build a house on sand. Why are you building a pool on sand? 2,000 years ago, we learned you don't build your house on sand. So we saw that and we're like, this is dumb. Pools were shifting, sand settles. There's like lots of problems that come from that. So we produced a series of articles and videos that talked about the flaws with installing fiberglass pools on sand and backfilling with sand. At the time, 80% of all fiberglass pools were installed with sand. Today, 80% of fiberglass pools are built with crushed stone because that's what we taught. We changed the entire industry. And so that's disruption 101. And I would challenge you for listening to this to say, what are the things that you see in the industry that you're like, I don't like this. It shouldn't be this way. Could you talk about them? Could you preach about them, teach about them, and say, it's not right? Yes, you could do this. I was talking with Tommy Mello about this the other day. I said, what pisses you off about the industry, Tommy? He's like, what makes me crazy is when you go into these big subdivisions and they're trying to save money on their garage doors and they don't include this, this, and that, and they have a crappy product. It's like lipstick on a pig. I
And
said,
it looks terrible. And it's like,
yes,
what
we're going to
people see.
lean into that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that and let's change and let's create a standard in the industry. I said, is there a standard for these types of additional components? Are there like levels or standards of garage doors that everybody's agreeing to? He said, no, there doesn't exist. I said, well, guess what? There will be, because we're going to make it here with A1. That's what's possible for anybody that's listened to.
Okay. So a question I have, let's say I want to get a pool installed and I'm dead set that I don't want it to be fiberglass. I want it to be poured in or whatever. What's it called whenever it's not fiberglass?
Concrete or vinyl.
It's going to have a slide and like it's going to have all of the kits and caboodles. What's that going to cost me on average right now in the US?
On average right now in the US, you're probably going to spend somewhere between $80,000 to $150,000.
What if it was double that much?
Sure, it can be triple that much if you want enough stuff. Why do you ask?
Oh, I was just curious. I mean, I might know somebody who's getting a pool done.
Well, are you going to spend $300,000 on a concrete pool?
Where I live?
What is your weird
I know
hesitation
exactly what
here,
he's
John?
doing.
Tersh, what
I
is
live in
what is
Arizona.
exactly what I'm talking
what
about?
are you
Fairly new house. We're
insinuating?
getting a pool built, but what Tersh is not sharing is like in Arizona, like pools can be like play pools, or they can be
resorts. You chose the resort, and you went with concrete because that's what everybody in Arizona gets.
What's the reason for that?
You have a labor base that is extremely skilled with concrete, works really, really well. So you can get a concrete pool for much less than you could a fiberglass pool out there.
Really?
Because fiberglass is more material based in the cost, whereas a concrete pool is more labor based in the cost.
Okay.
Right. And so because you have so much of this like blue collar labor that exists in Arizona, you can get the pricing for concrete pools in Arizona are the lowest anywhere in the United States of America. So the fact that homeboy Josh is spending $300,000, he'd probably spend $600,000 if he was in like New York or something like that. Which means
I don't think it's like
podcast
quite
is treating this
300.
fellow good, y'all. Let's go, let's go, sponsors.
I don't think it's quite 300,000.
It's not quite that much,
that would
but
be
it
my
is.
guess.
It is resort.
Yeah, 275.
like-
We all get it.
It's Arizona, and honestly, if we're home and we're not traveling, I want to enjoy it.
You don't have to excuse yourself. You've worked for this big dog. All right, y'all.
I
did
knew
like,
exactly.
you
You know, it's
did like-
funny. As soon as
You
Tersh
did
asked the
300
question,
episodes before anybody listened to you, man. You deserve this, man.
as
Your
soon
agency's
as
killing it.
Tersh
150 clients. Yeah.
Marcus, as soon as Tersh started asking the question, I'm like, I know exactly where he's going with this.
Yeah, you know
because
what
I shared
gutter
the
he's doing
information with
now.
him like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. He can't even help himself.
Oh,
He's like a kid, a fat kid in a candy shop. He's got to
I
go
am.
grab
I
that little
am.
sucker.
I am literally the fat kid in the candy shop. Like Josh and I go to candy shops and Josh's like, do they have dark chocolate? And I'm like, I don't care. Let's get it all.
Hey, I got to ask you all. You got this event coming up. When is your live event?
Marcus, this is a hilarious story. I had Slack up, and Carol commented from LinkedIn. She's our podcast manager. She literally was blowing us up in Slack during this episode to ask you that very question. I said, Carol, I'm not going to ask him live. I will ask him after.
Well, I wanted to put you on the spot live because
You are putting us on the spot live.
pull a Tersh on you all. Anyway, I don't want to
Yeah.
bore your listeners to death. We can discuss it.
No,
afterward.
absolutely.
Hopefully, I'll
And
see them in October.
another thing that's really cool is the event is going to be at the Savannah Bananas as well. So Jesse Cole and
Is Jesse
Jared
going to be there?
Orton.
Because he's a friend of mine.
Jesse is a friend of mine as well.
Yeah.
I
Let's
haven't
go.
confirmed that he'll actually be there.
If he's not, I think Jared's going to be, right?
Jared will definitely be there. Yeah.
Okay.
That's awesome. That's
So,
very
yeah,
exciting.
we'll chat about
Cool.
that.
Marcus, we appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, this is great.
Yeah.
Man, that was fun, guys. You're building something special here, and I love.
Real quick,
I-
do you want to put the name of the book again, just in case people missed and didn't realize it was a book you're talking about?
Yes, it's Endless Customers, and you can find it on Amazon. Can I finish with a story? Can we close with a proper story?
100%.
And this is for all the listeners, and you just listened to us for an hour, 5 minutes. That makes you special. And I'm serious when I say this. When I got into the pool industry, I'd been in the game for about 10 years, and the industry was doing really well. Maybe like 5 years, excuse me. And the industry was doing well. It's probably circa 2005, 2006. This was before the first crash. And I went to the owner of the manufacturer that we were selling at the time. And I said, you know what? Instead of going on a cruise this year, instead of everybody going and getting drunk and stuff like that, why don't we have like an educational event or conference where everybody gets better and they improve their companies? And he says to me, Marcus, don't you know pool guys don't care about education? I thought, what are you talking about, man? There's a movement that's happening within the trades that's really, really special. This podcast is a microcosm of this macro movement, which is we're having so many people enter the trades now because they say, you know what? There's actually security there.
It's recession proof.
They're not going to take my job. AI is not going to take my job there in the trades. And they see that people in the trades are oftentimes very happy. And now there's all these educational support groups, masterminds, and I've been in a lot of them. There's something special happening. My son is 21 years old. Just the other day, he's a full-time electrician. The other day, he says to me, Dad, I've got $100,000 in the bank. He's 21. He has his own crew, and $100,000 in the bank.
That's what I'm talking about.
Look at that. He started at 16.
I'm going to send this little clip to our kid. We both have teenage boys, and they both are thinking about the trades. I'm like, here you go. Now you know what you need to do.
Proud to be in the trades. Final thing I'm going to say. When I got into river pools, I went to a family event, and this lady, family member, comes up to me and says, Marcus, I hear you're going to be a pool guy. And I said, yeah. She said, what a waste. And then I thought to myself,
Wow.
oh, you did not. And I have had people all over the world come up to me that I don't know. And they say, you're the pool guy. Because they've read the story. Yes. So be proud of the fact that you're in the trades if you're listening to this. I mean, put your chest freaking high and own it because it's a glorious time to be in this game.
That's a great way to end. Marcus, we really appreciate it, man. This was a really fun conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you, guys.
We'll see you, bud.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Service Business Mastery. Now that you are equipped with essential business advice from this impactful conversation, you are one step closer to becoming the successful owner of your dreams. If this episode has been helpful to your business journey, don't forget to subscribe to the show, leave a rating, and share it with other owners as well. Visit servicebusinessmastery.com to learn more.